What is that with steroids that makes people more aggressive?
Just
You've taken TRT. I've never been there. Maybe I will in a couple of years. But
I think what we're referring to is the roid rage. That is, I think that's an excessive amount of testosterone and estrogen. Like basically because your body is taking the excess testosterone, turning some of it into estrogen, and that's what you see the guy on trend like going through his girlfriend's phone and wanting to fight. Going on TRT, I don't see those guys becoming more violent. They do become more assertive. They get more muscle for sure. I think it makes you more focused, and I think it makes you more virile in bed, but I don't think that it makes you more violent. And I've talked to several guys. Jay Cutler was saying this is like, if you were a dick before and you had a violent personality and you take steroids, then you probably will get more violent. But testosterone's not going to do that to you. I think that's part of the issue. Is like the roid rage comes from like excessive levels of testosterone combined with estrogen that's like through the roof as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the effect that the TRT had on you, and do you still take it?
Yeah, I still take it. So I'm turning 47 this week, and I'll tell you, for me, the easiest way to explain it is probably when I was 42, I was dating this stunning girl, and I was just not that interested in going home and having sex with her. And like to even to this day, she might tell people that, and she's right. Like this girl's so fucking beautiful, and I just remember thinking there was something wrong with me, and there was. Like the world started getting gray for me. I don't know how to explain it, but like the food didn't taste as good, and like I just kind of didn't give a shit about things, and I wasn't fat, but I wasn't in good shape.
Lethargic.
But I would go to the gym, and one thing I noticed is that I would lift a lot, and my arms would stay the same size, but my gut would get bigger.
Exactly the same.
My gut would get bigger, but my arms would stay the same. But it's the same workout and the same diet. I just noticed, like, later I found out protein synthesis started to slow down. My metabolic rate started to decrease. And when I got on TRT, it's like the world became colorful again. You know, there's that point where it's like, am I really going to drive 45 minutes to go fuck this girl? Like when you're older and you've made some money and you have women constantly, you're just like, I'm not going to drive 45 minutes to fuck this girl. You get on TRT, it's like you would drive to fucking Barstow to go fuck her, like whatever, like what time? Like you're just, I remember like the stupid shit I did in my 20s to like drive out just to go fuck some girl. Like all of a sudden I was like, yes, wherever, let's go. Like all of a sudden that started happening. You know what I'm saying? So there was that. But the other thing is, I can tell you there'd be no Men of Action, my company, that wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for TRT, because it made me so fired up and focused to really focus on what it is that I was good at. And it just like life changed. Rollo, my partner Rollo, he's my co-host on my show. He got on it too, and you can just see there's just massive change in like the assertion and aggression and industriousness that you have when you get. By the way, I'm not at super physiological levels. I'm just at what I was when I was 19. I just have the endocrine hormones of what I was when I was 19 years old. That's all that's happening. I'm back to that. So if you abuse it too much, it can grow all your organs. It can grow your heart. Your heart is a muscle that can grow, and that's not good for you, for your heart to grow. So that's why the abuse of steroids, like people taking tren on a regular basis. I have a friend of mine, he's a humongous influencer, and he's taking a lot of tren, and he told me straight up, he goes, I'm not long for this world. But he's making a lot of money, and he's happy. Like right now, he's like, I just want to be big as shit. I don't give a fuck about anything else. I wouldn't do that. Also because there's I'm reading Dr. David Buss's Evolutionary Psychology, New Science of the Mind textbook. The textbook, the actual not the Evolution of Desire, his actual textbook that he has at UT Austin. And they go over the over and under perception bias of men and women. They show women's bodies on a 7-point scale. So this is one end, this is like super skinny, and this on the other end is like plump. And they do the same thing for men. What happens is women say, what do you think men find most attractive? And they choose super skinny, and the men choose the middle. They choose this sort of like, there's some curves.
Yeah.
Because we want to have kids. Yeah. We don't want to have, women who are too skinny actually can't have kids. Women who are too fat actually can't have trouble with kids too. We want a 0.7 hip to waist ratio. We want a little bit of body fat. We want some health in there, like some sturdiness and stability. You're going to have to carry a child for 9 months. Yeah. That's what our hindbrain genetics are looking for, a woman with some sturdiness to it. Men, on the other hand, when they have to choose, they choose the Arnold Schwarzenegger physique, and women, though, they choose the Brad Pitt in Fight Club physique. That's the one they want.
Lean and a little muscular.
Correct. So men have an over-perception of how muscular they need to be, and women have an under-perception of how much they need to weigh. And that's just a really interesting feature of human psychology. And so guys will take steroids, and they'll be skinny and wafy their whole life, and they'll take steroids. And what'll happen is they don't look like bodybuilders. They just look normal for the first time in their life. You've seen, if you've ever had a client who's Indian, who's been vegetarian his entire life, you see, Indian men with the gut and tiny little arms.
Yeah.
That's from excessive levels of carbs and no protein.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens from the vegetarian diet. So they'll go and they'll take a summer and they'll take steroids, and they don't look huge. They just look, for the first time, they look like they have a normal V-shaped taper and just a normal physique. And they're like, well, if I took this much steroids and I get this many compliments, if I take twice as much steroids, I'll get twice as many compliments. And of course, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
They get beyond. There's a frontier, an effective frontier, like Tai Lopez talks about all the time. They exceed the effective frontier. They're taking too many steroids. They're too big. They start getting pimples on their back, etc. Back acne, all this other stuff, and they start getting oily skin. Maybe their skin starts falling out because of the DHT, and they've gone too far.
Yeah.
I think somebody taking 100, maybe 150, as high as maybe 200 milligrams a week of TRT, and then maybe if you're in some situation where you're super small and you get a doctor to maybe prescribe you a little bit of Anavar. I'm not recommending Anavar. I'm just saying if you had someone do that, then I can maybe understand that. But unlike some other people, I do recommend at some point you do take an estrogen blocker if your body produces too much estrogen. I know some people swear against it. They're like, never take an estrogen blocker. I think when you don't take an estrogen blocker, you end up becoming Will Smith hitting Chris Rock. I absolutely think Will Smith's on TRT, and I think he doesn't take an estrogen blocker, and he goes, keep my wife's name out of your mouth. Like he talks like a little.
Yeah.
That's excessive estrogen. That and years of abuse from Jada. I think that's what you saw manifest right there. I do think guys should, if you have too much estrogen, I do think you should take some kind of blocker.